I have good news and bad news. The bad news is it's the end of January and I've already broken one of my resolutions, and that is to drink water, mind my own business, and stay out of messiness. The good news is because I cannot do that, that is why we have today's episode. So, welcome to Christianish. This is the podcast for women who have Bibles, but they struggle with boundaries, and that is affecting your relationships. So, back to the messiness. The messiness that I am referring to is spending a little bit too much time on Reddit. So, I don't know if you've ever been on Reddit, but it is this forum where people post about all sorts of things, and there are different subreddits for different interests. So you can go on Reddit and you can find a group of people who are really into one particular TV show or one type of movie. You also have people asking for advice. So there are subreddits for financial advice, relationship advice, you name it, fitness advice, whatever. Now, the subreddit that I have found myself spending a little bit too much time on is called Waiting to Wed. And this is a subreddit for women who want to be married right now, but they are not, and they've been waiting for quite a while. If you read through some of the posts in the subreddit, you have women who have been quote unquote dating someone and have a quote unquote boyfriend. And I say quote unquote because, well, so they have these, let me go ahead and explain. They've been with this man for 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10, 15 years. And that's why I say quote unquote boyfriend or relationship. Because at this point, if someone is with you for that long and they won't make that type of commitment, you are a placeholder. You are there until they find something better or until they realize that they can't find something better and they just give up and settle for you. And that gets us to this whole idea of shut up rings. So if you don't know what a shut up ring is, this is a situation in which two people have been in a relationship for a long time, and the woman keeps pushing the man to propose so that they can get engaged and get married. And after being nagged to death, the man finally buys a ring, but he doesn't want to actually get married and really doesn't even have the intention of getting married. So then you have these situations where a woman has been dating someone for years and the relationship isn't going anywhere. Or worse, she's given the best years of her life and she has given this man property, like they've bought a house together, she's given him babies, stuff like that, and he still won't make an ultimate commitment. And yeah, she has given her all. Oftentimes she's given her youth. You see a lot of these relationships happen with women in their 20s and 30s. And in return, he still won't make the commitment. But so she's wasted those years in the dating phase. And then finally, he gets tired of the nagging. So he gives her an engagement ring and he proposes. But again, because he has no intention of actually really marrying this woman, they just end up engaged forever until either he leaves, and oftentimes you've seen this happen before, he will go and end up marrying the very next woman he dates, or, eventually the relationship will just end. And not only have I seen this in the Waiting to Wed thread, which if you ever go take a look at that thread, I personally think the stories are heartbreaking. All these women who say that they have given so much, they are so in love, they want this relationship so badly. And as you keep reading, you see all these patterns of how they say they want marriage. They've done everything the man wanted them to do. So maybe they moved to be closer to him. They were patient and didn't nag about wanting to be married. They had kids, all that stuff. And Guys, you have to excuse me because once again, my allergies are acting up, and I don't know if you're hearing it, but I'm fighting back sneezes as I record this. But they're doing all of this to still not get the one thing they want. And also, oftentimes in the posts they make, you can see that they have downgraded what they believe they're worth so many times, and they're settling for less and less. So it starts with they had this dream of getting married and having the big wedding and the house with white picket fence and all of that. And now they would be fine with just a courthouse wedding as long as they were actually married. They had dreamed about the ring when they were little girls, and now they would be fine with just cubic zirconia, or some other stone. They just want a ring. And you can see that at this point, they have pretty much lost hope for whatever it is that they actually want. You should never allow yourself to be in that situation, because if a man wants to marry you, he will make it clear. And if there are obstacles on his side, he will clear those obstacles, because it's another thing that I see in those threads. And I actually, I said 3 signs that it is a shut up ring. Make this one the 4th one. Consider this a bonus, and we'll get back to 1 through 3. But a major sign of a shut up ring is that this man has all the excuses and reasons for why you guys have not gotten married before. And that comes in the form of, I have trauma. I don't believe in the institution of marriage. Marriage is just a piece of paper. All of these excuses. Because let me tell you, when a man truly wants to marry you, he wants to make you happy by marrying you, even if before this relationship he wasn't big on marriage himself, he'll make it happen. If it's a matter of money, or he wants to be able to get you a nice ring, because, some men will say that. They'll say that they're saving up for a nice ring, and they said that 2-3 years ago. And in the meantime, they've gone on trips with the boys. They've bought themselves PlayStations, all this stuff, but they don't have money for a ring. So, if that's the excuse, and it's a legit excuse, he'll take a second job, or he'll work hard to get a promotion at his current job in order to be able to afford that ring. If he doesn't believe in the institution of marriage, or he thinks that it's just a piece of paper, if you really want it and marriage is not as important to him and he's not as used to it, he'll do it to make you happy, right? And if it is a matter of he has trauma, his parents are divorced or whatever, he'll do the healing work. He'll go to therapy. He'll talk to who he needs to talk to. He'll make it happen to get past it. And if you want to ask me how I know because I was in that situation. My husband, his family, the long-term relationships are common law. So he didn't see actual marriage certificate, all of that as a big deal. But I told him on our 2nd or 3rd date that I was dating for marriage, and that I meant a real marriage, not, a common law one. And he was like, okay. And that was all he needed to hear. He was like, okay, you want to get married? We'll get married because I love you and I want to spend my life with you. That's how you want it done within that institution. Then that's what we'll do. So in a way, I do kind of hate that phrase. If he wanted to, he would. But a lot of times it's true. If he wanted to, he would. So back to the 3 original signs that I had for this podcast on it is a shut up ring. 1, it has been a long time. Men by nature are competitive, and they are also territorial. So when a man wants to lock down what he sees as his property, and yes, I know all of this sounds antiquated and old-fashioned, but it's true. So just go with it. But when a man wants to lock down a relationship, he will lock down a relationship. If that means marriage, then that is what he will do, because getting engaged, getting married takes you off the market. So when a man really, truly wants to be with you, he knows that you are the right person. He will take you off the market as quickly as possible and make it so another man doesn't have a chance to swoop in and do that. The second sign that it is a shut up ring is you have been talking about marriage. And when I say not the two of you, I mean you have been telling him you want to get married. And every time you say it, it falls on deaf ears. It seems like he's ignoring you. He's not listening. And then all of a sudden, people in his circle, his male friends, start to get married. And now, even if he's not enthusiastic, he's at least giving it more of a listen. A pet peeve of mine, and I know this is first world problems, but a pet peeve of mine is when I go to weddings, and nowadays I go to a fair amount, is when I go to a wedding and people use either Bible verses or songs that are not appropriate in a wedding context, or they don't provide the context. So back to the Bible verse thing, the whole scripture in Ruth where Ruth is talking about how your people will be my people, my God will be your God, all of that. She's talking to her mother-in-law, and people constantly use that as a wedding scripture verse. And I think it would be actually okay if you provided that context, because if you've been listening to me long enough, I say all relationships are related. So yes, relationships with like a close friend or a close family member that you have pledged allegiance to are, they're going to operate in a similar way as a romantic relationship. At the same time, I do think that it is important to kind of say that if you're using that verse in a wedding, you should mention the fact that it is talking about a non-romantic relationship, but it also applies to a romantic relationship, because I think context and nuance are important. But the reason why I started on this tangent to begin with is because wedding songs that are inappropriate, to me, one of the most inappropriate ones is Jagged Edge, Let's Get Married. Because one of the lines in it is, we ain't getting no younger, we might as well do it. Well, wow. That's romantic. So yeah, when a man starts to feel that pressure because of age and his friends are getting married, but before then, he never had any compulsion to marry you. You guys have been dating for 10 years and he felt no compulsion in his 20s, but now he's in his 30s, or he felt no compulsion in his 30s, but now he's suddenly in his 40s. This is a shut up ring, because this is not someone who really wants to marry you. He's not just shutting up you, like getting you off his case. He's also shutting up society, right? He's shutting up the family members and friends who are like, well, man, you're already 40. When are you going to get married and settle down? So he'll give you the ring. And again, like I said, in a lot of these cases, you'll notice the engagement lasts forever. I don't care how elaborate the wedding is. A wedding doesn't take 4 or 5 years to plan. It doesn't take 10 years to plan, right? But he'll see that as good enough. So he'll go ahead and give you the ring, and then when people make comments about the two of you getting older, he'll be like, "Yeah, we're engaged. We may not be getting married for a while, but the commitment's there. We're engaged." So yeah, that's the second sign. And then the third sign is he's not enthusiastic. So back to my first point about when a man truly cares about you, loves you, knows that you're his person, and he wants to lock you down, he enthusiastically wants to lock you down. You will hear so much advice on social media about how the only way a relationship works is that the man loves you more than you love him. And people get really hung up on that because it sounds like you're not supposed to care about your partner if you're a woman. And that's not the intent here. The intent here is when a man truly loves a woman, he goes out of his way to make her happy. He goes above and beyond. And if he's not doing that, if he's not being enthusiastic in showing his love for you, if he's not being clear to everyone around that you're his, that that he claims you like that, if he's not being enthusiastic about wanting to spend his life with you, if he's not the one initiating these conversations about marriage, about long-term goals. So it's not a matter of you guys have talked about it. He should be initiating it because he's going to be the one who proposes. So if he's not starting these conversations without you bringing it up, then that is a sign that you're either A, not going to get a ring at all, or B, if you get one, it is going to be a shut up ring. So to sum it up, if you truly want to get married, if you want to be in a relationship, then you have to understand that as the woman, you should not settle for someone who is obviously settling for you. You should not settle for someone that you have to drag down the altar. So if he's not enthusiastic, if he's not initiating, if he's not doing things quickly in a timely manner, there's no reason why you should be dating someone past 2-3 years if you are above the age of 25. I will make that caveat. If you're under 25, then yes, relationships can last a little bit longer. But above that, a man doesn't need more. A man doesn't need more than a year to know that you're the one for him. But definitely 2-3 years, you should be walking down the aisle. And if it's more time than that, you should be leaving the relationship. So if he's not enthusiastic, if he's dragging his feet, if he's waiting forever and putting marriage off, and then you eventually get a ring, it is a shut up ring. And in that case, no ring is better at all. You are better off leaving that relationship, and you're better off finding someone who truly loves you and appreciates you. So let me know what you learned in this episode, and also let me know if you are also just as much into Reddit messiness as I have found myself to be. So if this episode helped you, be sure to take a screenshot and post it in your stories on TikTok or Instagram and tag me. I am at Keshia Rice, KeshiaRice, and I will talk to you soon. Love you so much. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.